You've heard it said that real estate is easy. Well, we're here to tell you the real story. I'm Adam Hamalian,
And I'm Sherry Hutchens.
and we're two brokers with nearly 40 years of combined experience. And this is the real story with Adam and Sherry. We're going to talk about all things real estate in regards to agents and helping agents be more professional, build on their passion for the business, and hopefully make some profits for them. Hey, Sherry,
Hey, Adam, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, thanks. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Yeah, I'm excited about the second episode of our second podcast, the coaching edition. And so it's kind of fun to have a new adventure in the new year when there seems to be so much like other things going on in the world. To have something fun to focus on is really great.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a good topic and opens up a whole bunch of different podcasts that we can talk about directed right at agents as opposed to buyers and sellers.
Yeah. I think that when we talked about agent stuff on the other podcast, I think some of our buyer and seller clients, I think they like looking behind the curtain, but they're also like, I don't care about this. So hopefully,
Yeah. I think people are fascinated by this business because the reality of what we do for a living day to day is so different than the way we're portrayed on TV and in the
oh,
movies.
you mean it's not just like selling sunset?
Yes, you've seen how often I have on my 5-inch stilettos.
Yeah, right, exactly. Do you remember those agents that we saw briefly in our field, your glam agents?
Your glam agent, yes.
Yeah. I don't think that they were selling houses. They were selling themselves, but I
They
don't
were
think,
selling something, but it did not, you couldn't live in it.
yeah. Well, we're hoping to bring some heightened professionalism to our industry, and one of the things that ways that we're going to do that is through a new roles that we have at our brokerage as agent directors of agent development.
Yeah.
And this podcast is one of the tools that we're going to use with the agents we're working with. And so, if you're tuning in for that reason, if you're going through this series of podcasts, in addition to working with us, we hope you'll won't find this redundant, but also a chance to hear a little bit more about our stories. Being this is our second podcast, if you go back and listen to the first one, you will hear kind of our basics about what our plan is here, and then this episode, we're going to talk a little bit about. Um, what it was like for us our first year in the business and things that we wish we knew, things that we were glad that we knew, and a little stuff like that. But where should we start today?
Should we talk about the market?
Yeah, let's talk about the market.
What's going
Uh,
on in the market, Adam?
yeah, so typically coming out of the new year, out of the holidays, sellers typically are not real prevalent. They don't want to list during the holidays, and then as they come out of the holidays, they like to wait till uh, late winter, early spring to start listing their homes. And it feels a little bit different this year. I ran into a title rep on Broker's Tour earlier today, and he said that they have had as many new pre-sale escrows open in January as that they've had for a number of years. And I
Wow.
and I think last week you noted that the Broker's Tour. This is a super scientific way of measuring. The Broker's Tour sheet had like 10 pages. So
Yes, it's
uh,
10 pages today, too.
yeah. So obviously, this is geared towards agents. You should know what I'm talking about. But if you wandered in here from the buyers and sellers listeners, Tuesday in our areas when homes are typically previewed by agents, though often buyers are welcome to come to those. And it's previewing, getting ready for the coming weekend's open houses. And it's unusual to have so many on the market this early in January.
It definitely is. Usually this is quiet, especially when we've had a Monday holiday like we did this week.
Yeah.
Usually that's something that agents try to avoid. If we have a 3-day weekend and come back on Tuesday, it's usually a light tour and everybody waits until the following Tuesday. But that is not the case today.
Yeah. So a couple things about Brokers Tour Day. There are often realtor meetings that happen. There's two are standard in our area. I choose to go to one of them, which is the smaller of the two. Uh, Little known secret, I don't really like agents. Okay, it's not that I don't like agents. I just don't
You
like it
don't
making
like people.
Yeah, I don't like small talk with agents.
Yeah.
And then it rolls into the tell me about what listings you have, and you're like, I don't want to talk about listings yet. The house isn't ready yet. I don't want to tell you what I'm working on
Yeah.
until we're ready to show you the final product. And
Yeah.
and that's actually not true. There's a lot of times you want to pre-advertise a listing. You want people thinking about it absolutely 100%. But those are
I
good networking experiences. They don't necessarily help sell homes, but they're good to get known and know other agents.
I think networking is good if you're going to write an offer on somebody's listing and they haven't met you before, or if they have met you and had a good conversation with you, and they can put a face to the name. That helps you when you're submitting your offer, so they know, that you're a known entity.
You know,
Um,
the thing that happens at that other realtor meeting, which has a lot of value to it, but there's a lot of third-party vendors that are trying to sell agent stuff, and so it turns into this advertising. Here's a loan rep, here's a home inspector, here's a home warranty, here's a
yeah,
stager.
yeah.
And it's like we have vetted and worked with the people that we trust, and there's more than just the ones that we work with that are good. But I'm not shopping. We're not shopping for something, and it's easy enough to find those people we want it. One of the things, okay, on a side note, and then we'll get on to today's topic. Actually, maybe this is good advice for the first year owners. You, as an agent, are the profit center for a whole bunch of our industry,
Yeah.
and so everybody's going to be marketing to you, and you need to be judicial with your money, but also your time and your attention, because there's a lot of things that are being sold that not only are they unnecessary for you,
Mhm.
um, because you might already have a vendor, but they also sometimes are pushing, I'm going to just say it, bad advice on you. Like, here's the left-handed smoke shifter that every chimney needs to have. And it's like, well, everybody knows you need a right-handed smoke shifter unless you're left-handed. Okay, I'm making a joke, but those are um, tr trying to sift through the spam calls and the emails and then avoiding going to meetings where you are the target is going to be beneficial for you mentally as well as financially.
I think I think there are many things that we do that are no longer useful,
Mhm.
to a certain degree. I think broker's tour is one of them. Another one is that Tuesday morning meeting, not the Rossmore meeting, the other meeting. And I'm gonna say it out loud, and I'm sure I'm gonna get all kinds of flack about it. But the truth is, 25 years ago when I got into the business, and I know you all hate it when I say when I got into the business, 25 years ago. But the truth, the thing is, there was no way to, we didn't have, 55 pictures on the MLS. We had one picture. Well, we did just before I got into the business, we didn't even have an MLS online. But once we did, we had one photo, and then we were limited to seven. So you had to go on tour and preview the houses before, you took your client out to show them. Do we need to do that now? No, not really, because we can preview right on the MLS online. The other thing is all those vendors who trade through that meeting and, selling their wares. It used to be that, that was the best way to find out who the vendors were. Do you need a new inspector? Do you need somebody who works on roofs? Do you need somebody who stages? Nowadays, we can just go on to Google and say Walnut Creek Stagers, and we'll get, 15 of them. So I don't know. I'm not a fan of those meetings. I have never been to the one on Tuesday morning, to be honest with you, exactly for the reason that you state. I don't want to be sold to for 2 hours. But do some people find it beneficial? Absolutely. Then they should go.
I think the other thing that's really interesting that needs to be debunked a little bit is one of the mechanisms of that one meeting, which I think is kind of devolving. I'm not sure how hardcore it is, but if you want to be on the list of homes that that group is going to go tour, you've got to go the week before and tour everybody else's house.
The
And so then they all
caravan.
come through your open house, your broker's tour in mass, and you'll have like 30 or 40 agents plow through your open house, which is great. Traffic is good.
Yeah.
And they all drop their business cards. And
Yeah.
when I was first starting I was told, and then you could take that stack of business cards and show it to your client and say, look, 30 agents came through and previewed your house.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is why people don't like real estate agents, because we we tout ourselves in ways that don't make any difference whatsoever.
That's
I mean,
right. Because nobody looked at that house when 30 of them ran through. They're on a timeline. They're carpooling. They've got to get through the whole list of everything that's on Caravan. They run through, they grab a sandwich, and they're out the door.
yeah, just so they can make their head count because they got to get through all
Yeah.
the houses that are on that official tour list.
Yeah. There's no way I was going to go to my client and say, look at all the people who came through your tour today.
Yeah, the only thing that matters is actual buyers. And I mean, it doesn't, so let's not be completely overboard here. Obviously, the more people seeing your house, the more possibility of making a connection. So
Yep.
one of those 30 agents coming through on the mass tour might have a buyer, and they as they come through, they might go, "Oh, I should make sure my client sees this," or they're not really looking this area, but wow, now that I see X feature, this is
Yeah.
what they've been looking for. They might not be looking in this neighborhood. I can share it with them.
Yep.
So it does have some value. It's not worthless, but it isn't the primary way that buyers are finding houses. It's not through their agent, and
Not in
definitely not.
2026.
No, there's a
Maybe in 2002.
yeah,
Maybe in
exactly.
1990.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, so we're gonna kind of focus a little bit on what your first year was like, what my first year was like as new agents,
Mhm.
some things that we learned early, and then maybe some things that we wish we had learned early,
Mhm.
that it would make a difference. So, well, why don't you talk about your transition from your previous career into real estate,
Mhm.
and if you had owned a home previous to that, and a little bit about what it was like to start with real estate.
Uh, so I got into the business in 2001. Um, I was a homeowner at the time, and I bought one house at that point, and I had a pretty good experience with my agent. I don't really think I fully understood the process, but I was able to buy the house that I wanted. Um, and she made it seem really easy. And at the end of the transaction, she said, "You should think about real estate. You'd be really good in real estate." And I had no intention whatsoever of changing careers at that point. I was very happily employed at my job in San Francisco, working in advertising and marketing. So
Do you have a sense of what she saw in you that she felt would be make you a good real estate agent?
I don't know what it was because I was acting as a buyer, not as a salesperson. So I don't know. Was I put together? Did I present well? Could I communicate? I'm not sure what it was. But when I got ready to go into the business, I called her.
Hmm.
Said, remember when you said, you thought I'd be good in real estate? Well, I'm thinking about getting my license.
And what did she say? She give you some advice on how to do that?
She said, great, call me when you got your license.
Yeah.
I think it's a numbers game.
Yep.
I was alive, I had a heartbeat, and it's a numbers game. You get people get their license, they go into the business, and some of them make it, and many of them do not. And I think she thought, well, let's see if she can cut it. So when I got my license, I called her.
And did you go work with her as a new agent?
I did. Yeah, she and her husband worked together, and I was waiting for my actual physical license to arrive. Nowadays, if you got your license the minute you walk out of the test, right? They
Yep.
tell you at the door you passed or you didn't pass. In those days, you had to wait. Um, you had to wait to hear 4 to 6 weeks to hear if you passed the test, and then you had to go get your fingerprints. And I can't remember if there was anything else you needed to do. And then and submit your fingerprints, and then they would send you a physical license. And until then, you couldn't do anything. And I had problems with my fingerprints, and they had to be done 3 times. And so while I was waiting for my license to come, I just hung out with the agent and her husband, sat in on a few open houses. They had me running errands, go drop off these flyers at this house and things like that.
Yeah.
But I
All
couldn't
right.
do anything that actually involved the requirement of a license.
All right. And national brokerage, local brokerage.
Small local brokerage in Lafayette, California.
All right.
Very small. I think there were maybe 10 agents there. They were all brokers except for me.
Oh, interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a couple of those smaller brokerages. That's how they operated. They just wanted adults in the room and they didn't want any babysitting.
Yeah. United California Brokers,
So,
UCB.
so just because you were taken under someone's wing that they let you in there, even though you didn't have a broker's license at the time?
I assumed I was going to be working under their team.
Yeah.
Um, I didn't really quite understand the whole process. But one day I got my license and I went into the office and their office was cleaned out. It was empty.
And they
And
they just left.
they had just left. Yeah. My broker said that they were gone. They had not notified me. And I realized that I needed to go find a brokerage because UCB only took brokers and I was an agent.
So uh, that's actually typically how it's done, which is kind of, I don't know whether it's scary is the right adjective there, but when agents decide to leave brokerages, they leave it at midnight. Like
Yeah.
because once you tell your broker you're leaving, they shut off your email, your access to everything. And so you come in and you collect all of your assets, whether it's your computer or whatever it is that you've got at the cubicle that you've been assigned, or
Mhm.
or an
Yep.
office if you're a little bit more experienced.
Yeah.
You collect all your stuff and sneak out in the dead of night. It's really kind of,
It's a very bizarre way to do business.
yeah. I mean, because you're going to have to do transactions with people from the your old brokerage. The swimming pool is not that big. You're going to have to swim next to these people. So
Mhm.
do it responsibly. I
Yeah.
think well that's too bad. So you found yourself, I mean, initially it sounded like you were getting some great exposure to transactions that typical new agents don't get because even without your license, you were getting to see kind of behind their scenes, though maybe
Yeah.
limited.
Yeah.
So then what happened from there? So you don't have a broker's license at a
No.
brokerage that only has broker's license.
Yeah. And I asked the broker manager of that office if I could use an office and a phone because we didn't have cell phones.
Mhm.
We didn't have email. We didn't have computers.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And said, would you mind if I used one of the empty offices to make calls to set up appointments with brokers and so I can find a place to hang my license? And he said, of course, go ahead. I don't mind, which was really nice of him. And so I was going out on appointments and coming back and, thinking about, things like that and maybe making some more appointments. And one day the broker manager came in and said, I've been talking to the owners of the company and we'd like to make you an offer. If you would like to hang your license here, even though you're an agent, I will take you on and mentor you and train you.
That's
And
amazing.
it is amazing. I think back all the time about how lucky I was because that was a broker only company and I had zero experience and the ink wasn't even dry on my license. And here's this guy with 35 years experience saying, I'll take you on and mentor you.
Yeah.
And I said, yes.
So I don't really know what you were like obviously then, but I have some guesses. And for those of you that are new agents entering the world, you come with your field of experiences from your previous job or situation, whatever it was. And Sherry, yeah, so a little bit different. Sherry and I are about a decade apart in age, except that I behave even younger, like a 12-year-old. And I'm part of the generation that should be comfortable making phone calls, but would much prefer texting. And Sherry's from that generation, as you just heard, who she had to make phone calls as a standard business. And she was really successful in her previous marketing and sales position and had to call on companies, world-renowned companies, as well as regular clients up and down California and around the world. So for her to for those of you listening as a new agent, kind of wondering what that looked like, it was standard. There was no texting, there was no checking at social media, there was no checking people's websites. The only way to make personal contacts was making phone calls. And I suspect that your broker saw you as a professional woman with professional standards coming from your previous industry. And it was like, oh, that's not normal in real estate. No, I'm not joking. I think a lot of people end up in real estate because they struggled in their previous career, and
Yeah.
you didn't struggle in your previous career. You were wildly successful and just decided you wanted quality of life change. But you
Mhm.
brought the high level of professionalism that worked with companies like Visa and Apple, and brought that into the real estate. And so I'm sure, I have no doubt, even though I wasn't there, that that was the kind of stuff that they saw when they're like, yeah, Sherry is going to be an excellent agent and reflect well on the rest of us, even though she's a new agent. She's not a new professional.
Well, thank you for saying that. I'm not sure that they thought I was going to be a great agent, but they knew that I knew how to pick up the phone and call someone
Yeah.
and make an appointment and have a professional conversation with someone
Yeah.
because that's what I did in my previous career. I mean, I've been in sales my whole life. And when I say my whole life, I mean back in fourth grade, when I decided that I wanted to sell Christmas cards door to door. $1 a week allowance wasn't cutting it for me. And so I saw this thing in the back of one of those highlight magazines where you could sell Christmas cards, and I sent off and I got a little book with all these samples in it. And I literally at fourth grade went door to door selling Christmas cards
Yep.
and, got the orders ready and sent the order in. And when the cards were delivered, in November, I went back and delivered them to everybody who'd ordered them. And I'm telling you, I've been in sales since I was 10 years old. So
Well,
I know how to talk to people.
yeah. And you accuse me of knowing all the words.
You know a lot of words.
Yeah. All right. Your broker, Rich, hires you,
Yeah. Brought
and
me
that,
on an 85% split, which blows me away.
yeah, I think
Nobody gets an 85% split.
no. Well, I think that's probably the benefit of it being a small brokerage, boutique brokerage, where the owners could make decisions that don't have
Yeah.
national implications. All right. So
Well, also 85% of zero is zero,
true.
because there was no indication whatsoever that I was going to sell a house anytime soon. So,
Yeah. So how so whether we'll necessarily need to talk about your first transaction, but just kind of what was it? How did you learn to do like what did I mean, did Rich end up mentoring you, or did you do some in-house training, or did they send you off to Brian Buffini's workshop? Like, how did you learn more than just passing the test at that point?
so there was no in-house training because it was a very small company. There was an office in Lafayette, another one in Danville, and another one in Pleasanton. And I mean, we had maybe 10 agents in our office in Lafayette, and maybe not even that many. And Danville was a little bigger, and I think the Pleasanton office had one broker and no other agents there. He's still around, actually, Ed Antonucci, and still using the UCB name. But anyway, Rich, I don't remember exactly how the training started, but we would go on tour twice a week, and he started to teach me about houses. And then he started to teach me about how to value a home, and talked about the difference between the house we just saw and the house that we saw after that, and what the difference was and why the prices were different. And he taught me to look for things like the difference between luxury finishes and just plain old contractor grade finishes. And I mean, I learned so much just going on those 3-hour tours with him. And then we started to go through contracts and listing doc things and or listing forms, and talked about disclosures. And I mean, I spent about an hour with him every day, just sitting across from him in his office, and we'd have a little different topic every day. I don't remember specifically if there was some order in which we did it. But I also had access to him whenever I needed him. I could just pick up the phone and say, I just showed a house, and it says there's a foundation problem, and he'd have me come back to the office, and he'd take out a big sheet of paper and draw a foundation for me and teach me about foundations. So, I mean, I had really amazing training that many agents don't get, or at least that's how I felt at the time. Uh,
Yeah,
so yeah, I just having that total access to him whenever I needed him was invaluable.
that's great. Yeah, I think that having I mean, this is going to sound self-serving based in the context of the this podcast, but we definitely feel like having a mentor or being part of a team that allows you to see transactions ahead of doing your own is almost a must.
Yeah.
And so that
Yeah.
sounds like you had access to a really great resource as a young agent. That doesn't always happen. There's a
It
couple
rarely,
broker,
it rarely happens the way it happened for me.
yeah.
I mean, we didn't really have teams in those days, but nowadays you can join a team. And if you're lucky enough to just share an office with a senior agent, I mean, that is training in itself, just overhearing the conversations, you know?
There's a couple major brokerages out there that go back and forth about being number one and number two in the world. Um, and it's purely on agent count. And they
Mhm.
just, they're all they do is they recruit as many people as possible. And I don't know if I had when I first joined, maybe not first joined, but I had been around a little bit long enough to be established. This agent told me that they don't learn the new agent's name till they've been around for 3 years because they don't know
Uh-huh.
whether they're going to make it or not.
Exactly. I've heard that as well.
It's such a callous thing. And now that I've been in the business long enough, um, I understand why they have those feelings because there's be new agents that join our brokerage, for instance, but they're in a different office, and so I don't see them.
Yeah.
And so you don't when you don't talk with somebody, it takes me a little bit harder to lock in their names.
Yeah.
And I realize some of them come and go, and I never learn their name, and then they pop up someplace else. Like, weren't they with us? I'm like, what was their name? I don't remember.
It could be a
Um,
revolving door.
yeah. Um, and there's some understandable reasons for that. Being a real estate agent really is like a startup business, and people don't count the cost of what it's going to take to actually get up and running and make business. I mean, I forget what the stats are like on new restaurants, but they don't reach their break even point for something like 18 months or farther out. I mean, they're making income, but because of the initial investment, they haven't broken even for a while, and so depending on how your financing work, it might be even longer. And I think, people don't think about real estate as while there's less cash flow in the beginning, there's some. It takes a long time to make enough of a living that you're not tempted to go work as a barista at Starbucks
Right.
or some other job. And so trying to find the right situations for agents to enter the business, they have to have some kind of lead money. But then what's really crucial is that they're working with somebody that teaches them the business at the same time.
Hmm.
There's a lot of paid training and coaching out there that is hard for new agents to invest in because they don't have any money to do it. But if you're thinking about getting into real estate, this is part of your calculation of whether it's the right thing or not is to have some lead money, but then also be strategic about where you're going to start your career. Is there a space for you to have a mentor or join a team? Because Sherry would have been successful no matter what she did. Let's just tell the truth.
Thank you. Not sure about that.
No, no,
I
no, no,
really
no.
lucked out.
But having somebody show her the ropes was really invaluable. All right, so um, at what point did you get move past that mentorship relationship and really kind of be out on your own as an agent? What did you
Mhm.
leave that brokerage or did something what was when was Sherry just Sherry?
Yeah, at in about 2006 or 7, I was recruited by another brokerage to be in their management training program. At one point, I don't know what I was thinking, but I thought I might like to be an office manager. And so I
Okay.
went over to this other, big franchise,
So about
worldwide
5 years
franchise.
in.
About 5 years in, yeah, and worked there for a year and went through their MAP management agent. I can't remember what MAP stands for.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's management training, and realized that one, I did not want to be a manager, and two, I did not like working for a big corporate uh, company, a big franchise,
Yeah.
because they were more concerned about profits and stockholders and things like that than they were about the agents and the agents' clients. That seemed to be secondary to me. And so I went back to UCB for a couple of years. And during that time, UCB got bought out by Sotheby's.
Hmm.
And so here I was working for a big franchise or a big corporation again.
Yeah.
So I think in about 2010, I went to work for, it was really hard to leave Rich because, I mean, he was always there for me. The training didn't last a year or two. It really lasted almost the whole time I was there, even after I left and came back. But I ended up going to a small local company in 2010.
There's a, a a growing gap in brokerages of the manager who is kind of the training manager, but not there for training, just kind of ongoing support and in
Yeah.
answering questions. And uh, especially I was mentioning those two big brokerages that are just about headcount. We had a transaction with somebody, one agent in one of those companies that was just really deficient. I don't even know. It was embarrassing and appalling. And another agent in our office had a similar experience with the same agent and called the manager. And the manager says, I have 2,000 agents. I don't even know her name.
Yeah.
And it was,
I don't even know who she is. Yeah.
yeah, just embarrassing.
So that person did not get trained. It was clear from our transaction with her. She had no clue what she was doing, yet she was representing buyers and sellers.
Yeah,
And it seemed to be a pattern because not only did we have a bad experience with her because of her lack of training, but the next agent in our office had the
yeah,
same experience, maybe worse than we had.
yeah. So you were talking about Sotheby's being a large national franchise and being, so Sotheby's is part of the Anywhere family of brokerages. So
Mhm.
Coldwell Banker, Sotheby's, Better Homes and Gardens, Century 21, ERA. I
Yeah.
don't know. There might be a couple others that just were bought or merged with Compass to make this massive company.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Like you thought it was too big then. Now it is just huge and
Massive.
giant.
Yeah.
Yeah, and talk about stock beholden to the stock owner.
Yeah.
That's I mean, let's just be clear. Everybody, including us, is in it for income.
Yeah.
But one of the things you're going to hear in this podcast over and over again in successive episodes is professionalism first, passion second, and then those two things together lead to profits or income. And we believe by focusing on these two things about being a true professional and then doing it with the right purpose in mind of serving your client rather than making the money. When you put your client first and you know what you're doing as an industry leader, then you'll get enough business and the income will take care of itself.
Yeah.
Um,
Got to have the right order.
but when you've got, as is, many different fields, not just real estate, when you've got corporations running it and it's all about stockholder dividends and the stock price, it really warps. How can you say you're really in it for your client's best interest when those are the values of the company?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So you got to
Absolutely.
think about who you're going to go with. Is there a broker that you're going to sign up with that's going to have either a training department, a training manager, or a manager that you can go to with questions to help you learn and navigate tricky situations?
One of the things that happens nowadays, I don't remember if it happened when I got my license, but new licensees get solicitations from all kinds of brokers.
Mhm.
They send out direct mail, say, come interview with our company. We'd love to have you. Is that how you got recruited after you got, well, how did you tell me about how you got your license?
So, um, I before I got my license, I was managing a family portfolio of rental properties here in East Bay.
Mhm.
Nothing major. It was kind of a side gig. And quite honestly, my family wasn't paying me. It was just, I was managing my future inheritance.
Someday
Uh,
this will all be yours.
yeah, right. So, and because my brother lived in Costa Rica, I was the guy who got to do the rest of it. It's
And
all
it's
fine. I'm
great.
making jokes about it but when I thought, all right, I had another part-time job that really wasn't, it was needing to come to an end for various reasons. And so I thought, well, let me just go get my broker's license so that I could do property management for other people because you can't manage other people's properties without a broker's license. And so as I was doing that, I kind of came to the conclusion that I got tired of going and putting blue tarps on roofs in the middle of rainstorms and didn't really want to do property management. And so decided to go into sales. So I actually started with my broker's license, which is really unusual, and I'm not even 100% sure you can do it anymore. I was able to substitute some years of experience for my college degree in construction management, and some coursework that I did auxiliary, in addition to all the real estate classes that you have to take.
Right. We still have to take those.
Yeah. So I went around and interviewed with a couple different brokerages and
Did you
interviewed with
get the solicitation letters that I talked about?
um
Remember if that
I
happened?
don't remember that happening. I don't
Yeah.
think nobody really wants me. Um
You're a warm body. They wanted you.
yeah, I interviewed at three different brokers. They were all national franchises.
Mhm.
I think in hindsight I would have sniffed around some smaller ones for kind of just personal relationship reasons, but um
You didn't know, right?
didn't know. Yeah, two of the people offered me a 70% split, and the third one offered me a 50/50 split on my commission, which is really low.
Wow.
And but that broker, that manager actually gave me some of the best advice because in the interview process, I asked her, what are you going to do to help me be successful? And she basically threw it back at me and said, I'm not going to do anything to make you successful. This is on you to make you successful. And she didn't mean that she wasn't going to offer training or support me in that way. What she meant was this business is all about you as an individual being an entrepreneurial and selling yourself, and the you get out of it what you put into it. Hopefully you're putting into it smartly, and that way you have better because you can give in poorly and not make any money. But
Mhm.
very few people give nothing and make money. Like there are a few people that just genetically and relationally, it just happens for them. That's like 1%. The other 99% of us have to, treat our business like a business and if you want full-time income, you got to work full. And I didn't understand it. I was so young. I was like these other places, we'll do training and I'll help you with this. And she didn't sell that part of it. And I wish she had because that was some of the, 15 years later, that was some of the best advice I got. Um,
It's
so
funny
yeah.
how years make you understand that comment more than the way you heard it at the time. At the time,
Yep.
it's like she's not going to do anything for me, really. I'm not going to work here. But really, what she said was absolutely true.
Yeah. But we get wide-eyed agents who think that the broker's going to do everything for them,
Yeah,
including giving them clients.
yeah,
And the reality is that the broker is going to support your business, going to help you, give you tools that you need, including training. But you're the one that's got to walk through that door.
yeah. We had a situation a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if you remember a brand new agent who'd been at Compass for about 6 months and hadn't sold a house and was making a change. And she interviewed with us because we were going to coach her if she joined the company. And she did not want to hear what we had to say about what she had to do to be a success. And I mean, she hadn't sold a house in 6 months, but she said to you, okay, all right, next week we'll do it your way, but the week after that we're going to do it my way. And it's like, I don't think this business is going to work for you.
Yeah.
And we checked
Yeah.
her license not too long ago. I mean, this was probably, I don't know, this was farther than just a
4 or
couple
5 months
weeks ago.
ago. Yeah.
We just checked her license. She is no longer licensed. Well, she has a license, it's dormant. So I think she figured out that this maybe wasn't a good fit for her.
Yeah. She didn't want to do the work. Well,
Yeah.
the broker that I eventually signed with, so I didn't get a mentor like you got. I had a broker or a manager who I thought had some good wisdom, some that I didn't resonate with, but I was required to go to training, and I had to pay
Oh,
for it on top of it. Um, the
wait, they made you pay for training?
Yeah, they made me pay for training. It's fine. It was good training.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow. I haven't heard this before.
Yeah. So no, I'm not so the guy who we went met at some place like in Pleasanton at a conference center, and there was so the brokerage had multiple offices. So I think there was about 20 new agents in this training. The trainer's name was Rich Castow, and former military officer. Actually, I'm not 100% sure about the officer part, but former military and had been a real estate agent coming out of the military in Texas and brought all of his kind of military training to real estate. And so it's very disciplined. And I don't hear discipline like yelling. And I mean, just like if you say you're going to do something, you do it. Not,
Yeah.
I don't know what you're hearing when I say that.
No, I
And
understand. I have mentored ex-military before. They make great agents.
yeah. And I mean, he was the first place I heard don't have commission breath,
Yeah.
which you will hear me use over and over again. It was really good training. And I mean, even things like he got down to, he lightly talked about what women agents should wear, but he said, man, this is what you need to wear when you go on listing appointments. You should always be dressed slightly better than your clients so that you look professional. But if your environment doesn't have people wearing ties, don't wear a tie.
Mhm.
Wear a collared shirt and a jacket. And you then take your jacket off so you feel more casual and you can relate. Like it was that level of detail of
Mhm.
like just real concrete of you don't know what in the world you're doing. Here's how you do it. And
Yeah.
then all sorts of like, how to do forms, how to walk people through, why do we do staging? Why do we do home improvements? I mean, like everything you can imagine in this intensive 8 hour a day. I think it was 2 weeks.
That sounds like
Um,
great training.
yeah, it was very good. And then I paid for some other stuff which was less exciting. Like somebody had just, here's what I did last week, and I'm going to tell you what I did this week. So his
Mhm.
was really good. There's another agent in our office who went to training with him too. We were both in the same brokerage, but different. And he had this thing that said, if you do all this, I'll give you 100 leads. And she was the only agent in like the 10 years he'd been doing the class that did all these things for that he said. And so he gave her
Wow.
100 leads. I don't know if they were good or
Wow.
not, but yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Um, anyway, so that was, and then I tried partnering up with a couple different agents, just because I'm a social being and I didn't like being alone. And so, um, they, one, just kind of business model didn't work, though I'm still good friends with one of the two, mother and daughter. The
Mhm.
mother I don't see anymore, but the daughter I see regularly. And then there was another partnership that we struggled and we did less business together than we did apart. And so that didn't quite work out. I'm not going to do the autopsy on the podcast, but obviously results is important.
Yeah.
And then, eventually, you and I partnered. What are we up 8, 9 years ago now?
Mhm.
And uh, there's just something about having full partnership with somebody where you can talk through ideas with somebody who's on your team.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that I think is difficult for some people is to do that. You're a lone ranger, and there's nobody that's fully on your team with hopefully the exception of your broker.
Mhm.
Uh, but even the broker, you have, there is a point of negotiation with your broker around what your split is. So once you get past that, but having somebody who their business is fully invested in yours, I think that you and I have been able to have really fruitful conversations where we question each other and fine tune ourselves. And when we were young, we had no idea what questions to ask, right? We had no idea, well, why would we do this marketing bit and
Yeah.
whatever else? So being able to work with somebody as a mentor or a trainer who is giving you their best advice, it's almost how you survive in this business without having some of that is really difficult.
Yeah, it's a hard business. I don't think people realize, um, well, so many things. One, how much cushion you need financially to get started, as you mentioned before, but also how hard you work and how many different hats you have to wear, and that you got to go find your own clients.
Oh yeah, we haven't even talked about that. Well, I'm sure we will dedicate many future podcasts just to that one topic.
Yes, absolutely.
Um,
Yes. Number one question people have when they want to do coaching. How do I get clients?
Yeah, how do you get clients? Yeah. So if you were going to go back and be a new agent again,
Mhm,
what do you wish had happened differently? Small or big? What do you wish that some advice that you had been given in those first few years
mhm.
that you think would have made a big difference?
Yep, I know exactly what the answer to that question is. I would have listened to and believed Rich when he told me how good I was. There was no reason for him to say that to me except that he believed it. And I didn't believe in myself. I lacked confidence. And I thought, because it's such a solitary business and you do, unless you're partners like we are or on a team, you do everything alone. And I was successful enough. I sold 10 houses my first year. That was good.
That's amazing.
I mean, it is amazing, but I thought everybody knew more than I did and was better at it than I was, and it held me back.
Yeah.
It really held me back. And so if I had to do it over again, I would listen to him and believe him.
It's amazing how self-confidence makes everything a little easier.
It's key in this business. You really can't do this job if you don't believe in yourself.
Yeah. The
Because
the
if
danger is that we've both met people who believe more in themselves than they should.
well, that's a whole different podcast, but
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely. But yeah, yes.
Well, what would you, if you could go back and do something different,
So
what would you do?
I already mentioned I would have believed that the one broker said it's all on you to take care of it or to
Yeah,
be the driver of it.
yeah.
Um, I I think that I would have been a little more humble. So there's places where I needed to hear the same message you did, and we could talk about my origin story about when that channel flipped. But I would have been more humble in the sense of I I felt like because I had my broker's license, I knew more than many agents. And
Mhm,
the reality is there's some truth to that, but I didn't know what it was like to be an agent. And I think that I would have tried to find a team to go join.
mhm,
Um, and I think one of the challenges in our business is that your name is your badge, is your logo, and that take your name and put it on somebody else's team is I wasn't prepared to do that, and I think that I humbled myself in that way and sat under someone's mentorship more
yeah.
directly, it would have made a bigger difference for me. And I think that and then going on to the lessons I had about my origin story, which we'll tell another time. I think that the I was hung up on selling myself, being a salesperson, and that whole dialogue about, how do you get people to close and using used car salesman techniques. Like that's
Yeah.
what I was hearing people say, and I couldn't do that because it wasn't right with me. I think if I had found a space where that wasn't what was I was being taught, and it was more of a value, here's how you're serving your clients, I would have more identified I had something to offer, and I would have had more outside job satisfaction. But I
Mhm,
felt like an imposter because I wasn't this salesy person.
mhm,
Always, the always be the ABCs of sales, always be closing.
yeah,
We hardly ever are closing because when somebody asks us a question, we give them the answer that they need, not the answer that will be designed to have them sign with us.
yeah.
So I wish I had learned that. That was a long answer, but
I was not taught those closing techniques. Rich did not teach those to me. Um, and he didn't teach me scripts. I did not, when I was looking for my first house, my agent at the end of every showing would say, want to write an offer? Nope. Okay, on to the next one. And I'd look at the house, next house, and she'd say, want to write an offer? I did not do that. I was determined not to do that. All she wanted to do was to hear, yes, I want to write an offer. Um, so no closing scripts for me, no ABC, always be closing for me.
all
Um,
right. Well, good.
yeah.
All right. Well, hopefully you all found our stories interesting. There's so much ground here to cover, and we look forward over the next however many episodes we are able to put out here in this coaching edition. We really want you to be successful in this business if that's what you're pursuing. And we want to help you learn how to do the business in a way that you feel good about yourself, that
Mhm.
you, at the end of the day, think I did a good job today. These people were blessed because of my excellence in my professionalism and that I was looking out for them. And we fully, as we've indicated already, believe that when you focus on those two, you will make a sustainable income in any market. And so if you're curious about what that looks like, please give us a call. We would be happy to work with you or at least explore working with you. And if you're a buyer or seller and you're looking for an agent, that is still our primary gig. We do that with 90% of our time, and we would love to help you buy and sell a house.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Closing quote as we're trying to differentiate this from our other one. This is a John
Okay.
Wooden quote, and it's nothing will work if you don't. All right. That's it. Have a great week. We'll see you
Thanks,
next time.
everybody.